Thank you. You may be seated. Despite the interruption, you're still under your previous oath to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. Counsel.
Thank you very much, Justice. Dr. Manamela, you testified, my colleague from Section 27 asked you, when did you sign the licenses? And you said you signed it on the 1st of April, 2016. And she asked you, but isn't that's a huge number of licenses to sign on one day, wasn't it extraordinary? And you said, no, it's nothing. All the licenses were signed on the 1st of April, 2016. Is that correct?
The licenses are signed, are prepared, only revealing that the NGO will start operating from the 1st. It doesn't mean it's my date. Under my
Dr. Manamela, you've been defensive. The first question is whether it's signed on the same day.
Okay.
The normal answer to such a crisp, short question is yes or no. And then the next thing would be, why did you sign them on the same day? Then we could go to that explanation. We don't have to be so defensive. Answer the question yes, and then you'll ask you, why did you do it? So you can make progress. This is the 4th day of evidence, please. Counsel.
So are you saying you did not sign it on the 1st of April, 2016?
They are not signed on the 1st of April, all of them, before. It should be before.
Ma'am, the licenses read, signed under my hand on this date, on the 1st of April. So when you signed the licenses, you already lied. Because the licenses reads quite, you don't need to be a genius to read the license. It says, signed under my hand on this day, the 1st of April, 2016. So when you signed the licenses, you actually made yourself guilty of fraud because you knew it was not the 1st of April, 2016.
Not all licenses were signed on the 1st of April.
All right. Just listen carefully to my question. I'm putting it to you that the licenses reads, signed under my hand on the 1st of April 2016. You testify that not all licenses were signed on the 1st of April 2016. I'm putting it to you that that conduct of yourself, by signing a license and dating it the 1st of April, when you know it's not the 1st of April, that per se is fraud on your part.
I will say no and qualify it. The date indicates that the NGO can only operate from the 1st of April of that year, meaning that at the next year we'll give another license that say they can only operate from the 1st. That was the meaning. It might have not been captured right the way you are seeing it, but the meaning was that from 1st of April, the NGO can start operating.
So, but signed under my hand on the 1st of April, on this day, the 1st of April, that is not correct. You agree with me?
It may not be correct.
No.
It may be correct.
It is correct or it is not correct?
It may not be correct. It may
Ma'am,
be correct.
you just testified that you did not sign all the licenses of the 1st of April. So you agree with me that it's not correct. You did not sign the licenses on the 1st of April 2016.
I got that not all the licenses. And I say it can be correct, it cannot be correct.
Well, ma'am, we'll leave it for General Johnson
Well,
to take it further.
as you leave it, counsel, I want you to look at any license of the license you signed. Let's see where we find that. In volume 7. I went to look again. Look, for instance, on page 2370. There is a license, presumably for St. Michael Home or St. Michel Home. Can you see that? The very first one. You can choose any one for that matter. You've got it before you. Look at the bottom, the question you were asked. Given under my hand at Johannesburg on the 1st of April 2016, signed by you. And you've explained why you put the date 1st April 2016 to show the commencement of the date of validity, right?
That's correct.
But look at the body of the license. Can you see that? 5 lines from the bottom. Can you see the 6th line from the bottom?
That's correct. Justice.
What does it read?
Permission is granted for admission, treatment.
No, the 6th line from the bottom, higher up.
This license is valid for period 1 April to 31 March 2017.
You see, so the term of the license is in the body. It's set out in the body, isn't it?
That's correct.
So why do you not write the correct date on which you sign it? Because the license tells you in its body what is its term of validity.
I think this was just a procedural error.
What was the procedural error?
The very same, this first day of April. This is how we've been licensing our license, and it can be Saturday, it can be when. But for us to give the patient before the 1st of April, that's what I'm saying. This is a procedural error that I think the whole of us, we didn't notice that.
Whose error was that?
It's the mental health unit that I need is error, because all our licenses are like that.
You see, even if you signed it any date, the validity is in the body. So you don't have to falsify the date of signature. So whose error is that?
I think the person who prepared and myself signing for this date, the person who prepared and they signed, I'm not sure whether the 26th April was the first day we were on duty, but I'm saying, I think, I might be corrected by the NGO manager, this is a procedural error. Because if you go to all our NGO, we put it this way. It's a procedural error.
Yeah, but you understand that.
Yeah, this I understand.
With your level of education, you did not have to misrepresent the date because the license already makes provision for the term of the license.
Yeah, I think
why would you make such a procedural error?
As the lessons were prepared to me, maybe I signed, I was under pressure, maybe, I'm not sure, because I'm not sure of the date. But it's a procedural error, because as the date is up there, we may not have been put the date here, this date, because I would have signed and attached my date in a written form.
But why didn't you do that?
Yeah. That's how, maybe because that's how we've been doing it, and now I'm opening that I should have. In other areas I used to put the date behind me, but I don't know what happened with these ones.
Shall we be quiet, please? Sorry, too many of you are talking and we can't hear what we're saying. Again, I must plead with you so that we can be able to make progress. I couldn't hear you talk about a procedural error and pressure. What pressure?
No, I will say justice is a procedural error because as I signed, most documents that I sign, I do write in my own, on my own handwriting, the date. But with the license, as they were coming, I just checked the report and sign. And maybe that's why I'm saying it's a procedural error. It's an error, this one, that I signed this on this day and without putting my
A few minutes ago, you had an explanation that you signed because that's the effective date.
Yes.
Now you signed in error.
Yes, if there are two dates, it means one of the dates is in error because it should have been one date. So there are two dates. One of the date was made in an erroneous manner. So I will say that and agree that that was an error.
Let me leave you with this thought, Doctor. You don't seem to understand the centrality of licensing by a state entity. From it flows a number of obligations, both constitutional and legal. If you permit somebody to have the power and the entitlement to be paid for looking after mental health care patients, you're making a decision about other people's lives, whose lives may be enhanced or lost. So it's not just about, we're not asking you questions about the date and the what and the little error. We want you to appreciate that you were given power by a law. And that law gave you the power to make certain decisions that will affect the lives of mental health care patients. You've exercised that power, and the result is that the patients died. Do you see that connection? It's not how clever you can explain something, just understanding the fundamental issue we're dealing with. You made a decision, you granted the license, two people, incompetent to do the job, and somebody else died. What is your response to that?
My response to that, Justice, will be, even if there is a procedural error, the NGO that was assessed, I had the report of the assessed NGO, and if they made a mistake, we still have to can terminate and withdraw the license. So the procedural error that I'm not disputing, it doesn't mean that we were saying because the date is 1st of April, then the patient must not be taken care of.
You don't get it.
No, I get it.
You don't
Justice.
gamble and say, I will do it and I might withdraw it. You make sure that you don't send people, living people in need of care, to places where you willy-nilly make procedural errors, or you have not checked properly and you might withdraw it, who don't have a service level agreement, who don't have tax compliance certificates, who don't, you saw that list, who don't have a proper board of governors, who must produce their CVs. You saw what the law requires. You didn't observe any of those, and it still blows over your head what a big omission it is, because it led to deaths.
Justice, if I say something on that, I didn't dispute the date, but I'm not quite sure of the causes of death at the moment. It might be that the NGO, which was presented to me, were not as qualified as the report was saying, and then I'll say in that area it can be the issue. But there are other variables that might have led to the death of the mental care users, like the illnesses they might be having, comorbidity, for example, the medication, the blood levels, and maybe lack of the staff that left because they were not paid. There can be many variables that may lead to that. And there was no intention in signing the license that we must just give it or dish it to anyone who said, I want to take care of the patient. That was not part of my idea and those of my team. That's why I had to check the area.
Have the police visited you already?
What?
Have the police visited you?
The
To
police?
seek, yes, members of the South African Police Services. Have they been to visit you to ask for a statement from you?
Not yet, Council.
Do you expect them to come to you?
Anybody who wants to know about this, the process, I'm willing to let them know.
Advocate Groenewald.
Thank you, Justice. Ma'am, I put it to you that you manipulated the licenses to suit your needs, the department's needs. You cancelled the contract. Sorry, respond to that firstly. Thank you.
I'm a professional who observes the rules, and I cannot manipulate anybody while I'm dealing with the people's life. I don't agree with that manipulation.
Ma'am, you've already conceded that you've manipulated the rules. You didn't comply. The NGOs to which you issued licenses did not comply with the standards and the requirements. You conceded that.
I consider that
Yes.
based on the report that I had, I signed the licenses.
No, we haven't seen those reports. We haven't seen those reports. And the long and the short is, the evidence before this arbitration proceedings is clear, beyond reasonable doubt, that those facilities was not fit to accommodate any patient. And that was so at the time that you issued those licenses. No warm water, no toilet seats, no construction, no recreational space. Those are things that were there prior to you issuing the licenses. It's not something that came afterwards. I put it to you, ma'am, that you manipulated the licenses. Do you know Dorothy Franks?
I know Dorothy, but I didn't manipulate anything.
All right. No, we will look at that. Justice, I'm going to refer to the testimony of Mrs. Franks. It's sorry, I'll just provide some page 164, 165 of the transcript.
Yes.
I think it's day 15 or 7, Justice, but I will confirm. Now, ma'am, we heard the evidence of Mrs. Franks. The question was put to Mrs. Franks that whether or not she applied for a license for 150 patients. Her response was as follows. The arbitrator, Justice Mosenek, said, yes, you are putting it on everyone else. I want to know that you gave them the number 150. Mrs. Franks said, they came and checked how many patients. No, but you applied. Did you say how many people you wanted? Mrs. Franks said, no, I didn't say that. Okay, how many did you say you could accommodate in your application? Dorothy Franks. I didn't give them a number. So they wrote the number 150. Yeah. And that was going to be Dr. Manamela, Dorothy Franks. Yes. You manipulated the licensing process, ma'am. And the evidence before this arbitration proceedings is clear to that effect. You manipulated it. Do you want to respond to that?
I think I don't appreciate the word that I'm a manipulator. In the first place, I never knew Dorothy. The district sent the document for me from Dorothy, and when I met Dorothy for the first time,
Try to call her Mrs. Franks.
Mrs. Franks, the first day I met her, she was already at Kalafong, and I was told by the district and the DD NGO that Dorothy is going to take 150 patients. I'm not a manipulator, and I really feel that if there is a stirring like that between me and the people who are hating, it will cause me a danger and my family in the next coming days, because things need to be coming right. Dorothy's statement is agreed.
No, ma'am.
It's agreed. My statement is not agreed.
No, I insist you must call her Mrs. Franks.
I'm sorry,
You
Justice.
don't go running around with
Yes.
first names here, okay? We don't use your first name, and I don't expect you to. Let's accord respect to everybody we're dealing with.
I'm so sorry about
Please,
that.
please keep to
Justice.
that, yes.
I was just saying, Council, that everybody who came and testified before me, these proceedings accepted their testimony. And when I give my vision, I'm told that I'm a manipulator. I'm a professional person who function within my professional ability. Apart from that, even my professional ability in terms of management, I always applauded that. I cannot manipulate anybody. And I will ask that through you, Justice, let my vision be given, then you will come back and judge. Because now Dorothy told you that as I tell you what I know, now I'm a manipulator. And it doesn't fare me very well.
Yes, ma'am, I hear what you're telling us, but at the end of the day, the evidence suggests otherwise. The evidence is quite clear. Mrs. Frank testified that you, Dr. Manamela, said, well, 150 beds, you will take 150 beds.
Me.
That's the evidence.
I'm not working in the district.
I'm asking your response,
No,
yes or no?
I said no.
No, you didn't
No.
say that.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay.
I was told that.
Now, on the same issue, do you know, Dr. Manamela, do you know Mrs. Daphne Ndlovu?
Daphne?
Daphne Ndlovu.
Yes, I know Miss Ndlovu.
You know Ms. Ndlovu. Now, Ms. Ndlovu testified also here at these proceedings. And in respect of the situation at CCRC, she testified that they went to anchor. They went to anchor. She said, but as a team of CCRC, multidisciplinary team, we went to the facility to check whether the facility will be suitable to admit the patients. With bedding, it was well prepared things, it was good, and with their kitchen, it was also good. But the main important thing that I've seen, that there was not user-friendly for the patients, it was the staff. There was no professionalism. There was no social worker. There was no doctor who assessed the patients on arrival from CCRC. The social worker inspected anchor, not your team. You, the director, ma'am, you didn't go and assess anchor. Would you like to respond to that?
Firstly, I don't know which date they went there.
23rd of June, 2016.
23rd of June 2016. Secondly, the the Miss Franks was working closely with the NGO identifying teams at that time. So the report from Miss Ndlovu didn't reach didn't reach me. But the report from the NGO manager was that Miss Franks has got staff. So I signed the license based on that. And on that date, I believe that's the early date of us placing the last group of patients.
Ma'am, the long and short is Mrs. Ndlovu lying.
Mrs. Ndlovu is not reporting to me. I don't know if he's lying, but what I know is about myself, I am not lying.
Sure. Well, ma'am, the evidence suggests otherwise. But let's move on. Ma'am, in respect of the transfers, I put it to you that you decided where patients should go. What's your response to that?
I didn't decide where patients should go. The conditions of the patient will decide where the patient should go.
Let me take you to LR9. Somebody can assist you there, LR9. You have it, ma'am?
Yes, Council.
It's a Cullinan Care and Rehabilitation Center. It's a report from the CEO. The subject is Cullinan Care and Rehabilitation Center report around transferring of patients from Life Esidimeni. I would like you to go to, let's start off at pages 6. Well, if you just go to, this is a breakdown at page 4. Let's start there. The following is a list at page 4. You will see the following is a list of admitted patients from Life according to dates of admission. And they set out the dates. Patients admitted from Life Esidimeni Randfontein in May 2016. So they put there, and then if you go to page 5, you will see there's a list, and then it says 10th of May. And they give a breakdown of the patients that they received and how they received it, and who went to collect the patients. And then we get to page 6. Just before the table there, the last sentence. The eight highlighted mental health care users in the list above were subsequently discharged to Anchor NGO on the 23rd of June 2016 as instructed by Dr. Manamela. We go on, page 7. The 9.
I want let the witness respond to that.
Thank you, Justice.
I'm sure there are other references, but it's easier reference by reference.
You gave the instruction that those 8 patients should be discharged to Anchor.
I didn't give instruction per se, but when the NGO identifying team was saying we don't have space anymore in Cullinan, but we have got space in Anchor, we are going to take the patient in Anchor, I had no objection on that. It was not instruction.
Ma'am, we will get to the specific evidence, but let's just deal with what you just said. From what I heard of your testimonies is 2 things. One is that you clearly didn't plan properly because there arrived more patients at CCRC that could be admitted. Is that correct?
We planned properly for
Ma'am,
CCRC.
you just testified that there arrived too many patients, they couldn't be admitted at CCRC, and then you said they must go to Anchor.
Yes, can I qualify that?
So you didn't plan properly, ma'am, because the patients that were supposed to go to CCRC, there weren't any place for them.
Can I qualify that? I said yes, but can I qualify for that? Because,
Qualify, ma'am.
okay. Cullinan Care and Rehabilitation Center was planned to accommodate 100 patients. So when they cannot, when the CEO gave the patient to 73 to Anchor, there was still space. So now, instead of the patient who were in Cullinan to move fully all of them to Siabadinga, there was no space. Because Siabadinga said they cannot manage more than that. But there was space for Anchor. That's why my team, led by the NGO identified team, asked that, can we take them to Anchor? And I said, I don't have any objection for that. So it doesn't mean that we didn't plan.
Ma'am, the evidence is quite clear. The 8 patients were transferred on the instructions of Dr. Manamela. Do you admit or deny that?
I deny the word instruction.
You deny that you gave that instruction. The drafters of this document, are they lying?
I don't agree with their saying that I have instructed them.
All right, let's move on. Page 7. The 9 highlighted mental health care users in the list above were subsequently discharged to Anchor NGO on the 23rd, as instructed by Dr. Manamela. Once again, a further 9 patients were discharged on your instructions. Your response to that?
It's still the same. My response is still the same. I
Okay.
didn't instruct.
Okay, then page 9.
Do you know who instructed? That the patients be discharged from CRC and taken to an NGO where they died? Who gave that instruction?
Justice, I was phoned to say we have got the patient who cannot be accommodated in Cullinan, but we have got space in Anchor. We are planning to take them there, and I agreed, but I didn't instruct that you must do it.
Why did they phone you?
Because they had some challenges. That at that time, I didn't want to touch that now. At that time, when it was planned, the CEO was not supportive anymore because of the department issue with
Did they
Anchor.
just want your opinion? I mean, you many words.
No,
I mean, I'm just asking you, why did they phone you?
Because the NGO identifying manager, Ms. Jacobus, is reporting to me. Daphne has never phoned me. Because she was and she
You
is
just
still
told
not.
us they phoned you. I'm
Yeah,
saying,
but
why
that
did they
is
phone you?
no. I didn't receive any call from Daphne. I received all the calls from Ms. Jacobus. Daphne was reporting to Cullinan CEO, and CEO, if there is there are problem, CEO of Cullinan will call me, not Daphne. I didn't receive any call from Daphne. I received calls from the NGO manager from my office.
Are you okay, doctor? Are you okay?
Why do you ask?
No. You've just told me now that you did not instruct, you were called. So I want to know, why were you phoned?
Yes.
And then I get this barrage of words.
Just-
Why? You didn't instruct this document, which we've been through this. We've had full evidence on this document.
I did justice. I didn't instruct Daphne. That's why I'm qualifying it. I didn't instruct anybody. But my NGO manager, like I said the first day, let me give you the process. NGO manager called me and informed me of this. And then when she called, and she already had a plan, and I said, it's okay. I didn't become against the plan, but definitely didn't call me. The CEO didn't call me. The NGO manager, Ms. Jacobs, is the one who called me. She was there, who was overseeing placement from Enka and Kalinen on that day.
You talked about calling. Nobody did. You started this calling stuff.
Yes.
And I asked you, why did they call you? What were they looking for?
So that I can know the change of plan.
Were they looking for, could we have said no?
Yeah.
You have the power to say no.
No, I couldn't just say no, but I'll find out the reason. And if I didn't agree with the reason, I'll say, what can we do? So, but when they called me, I didn't have problems. That's why they placed the patients there. But it's not Daphne who called me. It's the NGO manager in my office.
You know what,
who called me.
Kuna was talking to you about? These patients were discharged from Kalinen. You know that. They lost their beds in CCRC, and the managers say at your instructions. This is what it is about. And there are consequences for them losing their beds, CCRC. The consequence is that they died. That's what this report is about. Did you instruct that the patients be discharged?
No, Justice.
The patients referred to on page 7 of 25. No. Who gave that instruction, if not you?
I didn't give that instruction, and I didn't see the patient, but I was phoned by my DD manager that there are patients that we can still place in Enka, and I didn't have a problem with that.
Is Miss Jacobus who told you that?
Yes, she told me that.
Is she the one who gave the instruction?
I won't say she gave instruction, but she's the one who told me that, and I had no problems with that.
And you could have stopped that if you wanted to.
If, from what she said, because it's a long time I
Did you have the power to stop it? The discharge of these patients to an NGO where they ultimately died. Did you have the power to stop it?
I didn't have, I'm not quite sure, Justice, whether I will say I had the power or I don't have the power, because the discharge process was done according to the termination. So I won't say I had the power to stop it. But what I can qualify and explain to these proceedings is that the 100 beds which was planned for CCRC were not yet full. That's why only those patients from CCRC were accommodated there.
Counsel, the witness is yours.
Thank you, Justice. Ma'am, I'm going to pause a bit at this whole transfer issue because it's quite important, and we've heard evidence of the impact that the transfer had on a number of patients, and the fact that the chaotic state of the transfers might have even led to their death. But it was put to Mrs. Ndlovu in these proceedings when she testified on the transfer of the patients from CCRC to Siabadinga and Anchor. Justice Moseneke asked her, is that a normal procedure for discharging patients, that they must go away to make room for other patients? Mrs. Ndlovu testified, I can say it's not the normal way of discharging a patient, because if a patient is discharged from the institution, it means the patient can adjust where he is going. So just because it was like forcefully to create a space for the patients. Question is again put to the witness. Was it desirable from your experience as a social worker in a mental health care facility, was it desirable to forcefully transfer patients in order to make space for those coming from Life Esidimeni. She later on replied, "It is not, Judge. It was not the correct way of discharging patients, Judge. That one I can acknowledge." What is your response to her testimony?
My response will be the forcefulness. I don't know about that. But I can take you through the process of Cullinan. Because Cullinan, even before the termination, they already planned that they have got patient who has no families and some patient whose family are unable to take care of them, and they've got the building. They feel that they will have to renovate the building and then let the NGO manage the building. So I'm trying to explain to you why I say no for forceful, but it was planned by Cullinan. Fortunate or unfortunately, when the termination came, we then said the hospital that you identify, the wards, will be renovated by the hospital. And then the patient that you already have will be going there, not forcefully. The CEO was the one who was coming to our meeting, not Daphne. It was never mentioned forcefully to go there. That's why when the CEO of Siabadinga said, "I can't take 100, nobody forced her to take 100. So the forceful word never came to my mouth or from my directorate and even the NGO manager. No one was forced.
We will go through the evidence, ma'am. And I submit that the evidence, unfortunately, shows differently. My apologies. Do you know Mrs. Diane Noyile?
Yes, Council.
Who is she?
She was reported to me as the CEO of Siabadinga NGO.
Ms. Noyile testified at these proceedings as follows. The three from Life Esidimeni came on the 1st of July, and they were brought in by Dr. Manamela and Matilda Malaza. Then there's a debate as to who is Matilda Malaza, and it's clarified. And it's asked, did they tell you why they bring these patients to you? Mrs. Noyile testified, "Justice, it was late afternoon. There was a bus full of people in our yard, and they did not know where to take the patients. They just said, 'Can you please take these patients because we don't know where to take them?'
Sure.
Dr. Manamela was making some phone calls. I'm not sure who she was calling. They did not have IDs. They did not have identifications. We did not know their names or their age. They had nothing. It was just what they were wearing at that time. It was 3 male patients." Then she goes further. Did you choose which patients you wanted? I did not choose. As I said before, Justice, these patients, they did not know where to put them because all of the others were allocated at Anchor and these 3 were idling. So they asked me to take these patients. I did not just take them. We had a problem of space. So I said we did not have space for them. Where are we going to put them? What are they going to eat? Because we did not have any money from the mental health department. And Dr. Manamela said she was going to come and fetch them on the following Monday. If I'm not mistaken, it was a Friday that day. So we had to stay with these patients over the weekend, but they were never taken back. May we still stand by your testimony that there was no forceful removals or pressure placed on NGOs to accept patients?
There was no pressure. And can I say that everybody who testified before me, all their evidence are taken as correct, like it happened with Ombuds. Everybody who testified against me, their evidence are not tested. They are not here for me to ask them questions. It happened. History just repeats itself in this country. But I must explain to you, Justice, Counsel, through the Justice, what happened with this patient.
Let's go quiet, please. Let's listen
I will start from the beginning. When you say they were never being taken back, because Miss Noile at that time, she occupied the ward illegally.
Ma'am, I'm going to interrupt you. I'm going to interrupt you because I want you to start from the correct point. The correct point is you forced 3 patients on Mrs. Diane Noile. Let's start off there.
I didn't force the 3 patients.
You didn't force the 3 patients?
We didn't force. We just asked that can you accommodate the 3 patients because there were 5 patients who went on leave of absence. That's why the notion at the end say we'll have to fetch them on Monday because there were 5 patients who were on leave of absence. She had beds, but those beds cannot be permanently used. We didn't know when the patient will be coming back.
So, Ms. Noile was lying. Was that your testimony?
Is there an answer to the proposition?
I didn't force Ms. Noile to take the patient.
Okay. Remember, that's now the 3rd witness that was lying to these proceedings, and you're the only one that's telling the truth.
I didn't force anybody, Counsel. I didn't force anybody. From the beginning, the NGO will take the patient according to their ability. I didn't force anybody. I didn't. Even if when we planned 100 beds, Miss Noile said, I can't take 100 patients. We didn't force her.
Yes, and then you brought in Anchor. That's what you did. You don't want to take extra patients? We're gonna force you into 2 wards. And we're gonna put 50 patients in a ward that's only supposed to take 25 patients. That's the evidence. And you did it, ma'am. So was Ms. Noile also lying about that?
Counsel, the ward that were planned for 100 beds. If we look at our plan, we'll see.
How many patients in a ward? 25.
25, but
yes.
There was extra space.
All right. So they had 75 patients.
Yes.
And you moved them. They had 4 wards, and you moved 75 patients into 2 wards.
Can I?
Yes or no?
I didn't move 75 patients to do what, but I can tell you
yes
the number
or no,
of patients. We moved patients to the 2 wards, but we cannot
yes.
say at the moment it was 75 patients in the 2 wards because I want to inform this court, if it's court, that at that time when it was there was a nursing station which can take plus minus 6 patients, and the renovation had extra space. If you go to Kalinen, you can count the beds that were there.
Ma'am, you're giving all these clever answers, but at the end of the day, you're saying nothing. My question is simple. Siabadinga had 75 patients. You came and you said to them, from now on, you're only going to have 2 wards. You confirmed that a ward can take 25 patients. So, 75 patients moved into 2 wards. The evidence was that in 1 ward, there was 50 patients. And you actually went and you physically moved the patients yourself.
Counsel, I don't know why I'm really here. because you said I said nothing. So whatever I'm saying is nothing. I am qualifying why? Because I'm telling you I know the word and the CEO was there. There is a word that was used as a nursing station in each and every ward that can accommodate plus minus 6 wards, 6 beds. So those are the reasons that you saw us to say we can still push, we can still place, not push, some patient in the ward. But those are the things that you don't want to hear. I said nothing.
Ma'am, because what are you telling us? Are you denying that there was over 50 patients in a ward?
I am denying that.
You are denying. Now I'm going to
because I'm telling you the structure of the ward, which you don't want to take. I'm trying to explain.
I want you to know
the structure
that
of the
perjury
ward.
is a criminal offense. I want you to know that.
I know that.
And I want you to know that everything you testify here can be used against you in criminal proceedings.
That is why I wanted to have all the record, because I know that it can be used against me. But if I'm asking, I'm explaining to you, Counsel, the NGO, yes, you know, that's the thing. Then I must I must just keep quiet because I'm explaining nothing.
Hello. This is an arbitration tribunal, okay? That's its formal name, if you wanted to know what it is. The second, under the law of arbitration. The second thing is, it's going to help all of us to keep on having a proper decorum and exchange of views. And thirdly, when you talk, you must face me and talk to me.
Okay.
You asked the question by the advocate, but in effect, you're addressing the arbitrator. And let's just keep to that decorum. That's why I've been protecting you every time there are haggles, because we must keep going and we must keep what the right thing to be done. I ask you and plead with you, please. Wait for the advocate, so should the advocate wait if you are still speaking, but he's entitled to insist that you answer the question. And should be no allegations backwards and forwards, please. Certainly you shouldn't make any allegations so that we can come to the end of your evidence, which has been rather long. I again ask you to stay calm, listen to the question, and talk to me. If you think anything is unfair, you ask me to intervene. Don't shout back, please. Counsel.
Justice, whilst we are on the decorum of the proceedings, may I just call upon my learned friend to desist from pointing a finger at the witness when he poses question. It doesn't come quite okay, for these proceedings.
Yes. That's a fair point, Counsel. I think you should point your finger up in the roof.
I think that's what I
You
tried
can
to
always
do.
make the point like this, but not that, but go.
My apologies for that, Dr. Manamela, if I was
Yes.
pointing at
When
you.
I was a young advocate, I was told that, and I learned to say, witness, I say this to you. But keep your finger too.
I'll do so.
In check.
My apologies, Justice.
Thank you.
Ma'am, before I move off from this forceful placement of patients, I'm going to put Mrs. Noyile's testimony to you. Exactly. She said, she told us, no, that's you. She told us there's another NGO that is coming that's going to take over 2 wards. The capacity of the wards is 25 patients. At that time, we only occupied 3 wards, which was, we had 73 patients. And then he came and he literally moved the patients herself from the wards, from one of the wards to pack patients in 1 ward. We ended up having around 52 patients in a ward of 25. So that is an example I would use of acting aggressively to the staff. She literally pushed the patients. Now, do you admit or deny this conduct as testified by Ms. Noyile?
As for pushing the patient, placing the patient, I was there. And Ms. Noile's team and my NGO placement team and me, we assisted each other. But as for the number, I think I should give you what were the numbers on that day. And also to explain to you that there was a nursing station, which for the NGO cannot be used as
Okay,
the
give us
nursing.
the correct numbers.
Okay,
and let's move on, please.
I'm
Yes.
checking it.
According to your version,
If I think very well, I think I'll find it here. There was 5 patients who went on leave of absence. And then by that day time, I think 2 patients already passed on. And in other words, if I remember very well, as I said I must check, there was one ward with 12 patients, and the other ward with 17 patients, where the patients are already on leave of absence. So we went and checked the 2 wards and find that the nursing station, that if that renovated place was going to be used as
can
a
you give
nurse.
us the numbers, please, Dr. Maname?
I'm
Numbers were put to you
yeah, I'm
that a
trying
ward
to-
of 25 at 50 people or something,
Okay.
or 75 patients in 2 wards. Just respond to that
Yes.
allegation, the crisp one, and let's go on.
Okay, can I just read it how I wrote it,
Yes.
Justice? Each ward had 25 bed occupancy, which I agree with you, Council, and each ward reported to a former nursing station that can accommodate plus minus 6 beds, meaning that 24 beds can still be placed in the in each and every 25 ward beds. And the other ward, the Siabadinga was using as laundry and throwing things there. And that can make space, as I added, 49 beds plus 6 for those reported to be on LOA. Hence, 55 beds could still be used. So then the NGO placing team asked me that we can still use the place, and realizing these numbers and the type of services provided by NGO that they don't need a nursing station, I agree that we can use it. And I was there on one of the day when we were counting the beds.
Yes, okay, Councillor, let's move on.
Thank you, Justice. Oh, ma'am, I'll put it to you that your testimony now just made no sense at all.
Just before you leave the instructions thing, I want you to go back to what Council put to you, which is LR9. You have LR9 in front of you?
I think so, Justice.
Kalinen Care Rehabilitation Center, LR9. Yes?
Yes,
That's the
yes,
one.
Justice.
Can you see from where does that report come? On its failed, we're told that it's a collective report emanating from the acting CEO of CCRC. Can you see that?
Yes, Justice.
Very well. Now, you've been referred to some parts up to 7 of 25. I ask you to look at 10 of 25. On the right corner of that document, can you see 10 of 25?
Yes, Justice.
Just above that block of names. Could you read that sentence there? The 4 highlighted MHCUs from there.
Yes, I can see it, Justice.
And it ends up with instructed by Dr. Manamela.
Yes, I see it, Justice.
What is your response to that?
Justice, my response is still the same. It's still the same that I didn't instruct anybody. It was as like in the beginning when Siabadinga,
No,
not
did you ask
Siabadinga.
Kalinen to discharge the patients?
They
They had listed there to anchor. That is the
I
allegation
didn't-
there, you know.
I didn't ask them to discharge patient. but I need to qualify that because the Cullinan were in any way going to discharge the patient to Love Disciples, hundreds of them. But when Ms. Noel only can accommodate
whose
73,
instructions were they
it
doing
was done through them, the CEO's instruction, because they are the one who knew the patient. I didn't know the patient. They were the one who knew which patient will go to Love Disciples. And then when there was, the Siabadinga couldn't take it, them all. The CEO was right not to force the Siabadinga to take all of them. And even my team and myself,
Okay,
we
so
said,
this
we
is-
can't take them to Siabadinga. Let's find another NGO that can use the place that the Siabadinga cannot use.
Did you instruct them to do this? They say so. It's simple. No, you did not.
I did not
And
instruct.
they are untruthful when they put this onto you.
The
right?
word instruction I did injustice.
Okay,
I
let's
just
move on.
advise.
Let's move on. We have very little time in our hands. Look at 12, page 12 of 25. Above that, another sentence. Above that block of names, that graph, can you see that?
Yes, justice.
8 highlighted MCHUs in the list above were subsequently discharged to Anchor on the instructions of Dr. Manamela on page 12. Can you see that? You didn't do that either, did you?
I didn't instruct, but I don't have, my page 12, yes, I see it, 8 here, I see it here, justice.
Have you
so I
seen
can
it?
see Yes,
They
I
say
did
you
instruct.
issued those instructions. Answer is what? No, you didn't?
I didn't instruct, I just advised.
Now look at page 14. At the top of page 14, again, do they wrongly put this to you? They say Dr. Manamela sent correspondence to the institution with information that 30 MHCUs are to be sent for admission at CCRC. Did you do that?
I didn't send information because the placing team from where this patient were the one who knew how many patients are going to Cullinan. And when there were problems, then that they will contact me.
So their CEO, acting CEO, and the rest of the staff who compiled this are accusing you wrongly when they say you even sent correspondence telling them that 30 more patients are coming and they better find space for them. Did that happen? No?
Justice, I didn't send them any correspondence because I was in no position to have time to write at that time. I didn't send them any correspondence, and you need to remember that I was suspended when they compiled this report. I was never even consulted and find out from myself. And the new CEO was not even part, the person who wrote this report. It was not what I did, Justice.
So all those instructions, there are many. I just want to show you how many times they say you instructed them to move patients. And lastly, according to the law, who is entitled to discharge a patient? Let's start off with you. Are you entitled to discharge any patient?
Where I am working and appointed, I'm not entitled to discharge patient.
You are not a clinician in psychiatry.
If you look at that, I'm part of the clinicians in psychiatry, but my function was not at the level of that clinician, but at the level of management.
Yes, unless you are part of an interdisciplinary team, you yourself, you have no power to discharge any patient.
That's correct.
And how did you find it right to issue instructions for people to be discharged in large numbers so arbitrarily? Where's the legal authority for that?
Justice, these patients were not discharged, but were placed. So I had no legal right to discharge them, but I ensured that before they are placed, they are seen by the medical officers and together with the practitioners, including my colleagues who were in my office.
Ms. Ndlovu says she assessed the patients with no doctor there to take them to Enka or Siabadinga. Was that lawful?
Justice, that was not, because the patient were already
That was
assessed.
not lawful, right?
Yes, they were assessed at Life Esidimeni. And Ms. Ndlovu is not reporting to me. I don't know what was the situation in Kalinen. But what I know, she's part of the multidisciplinary team at Kalinen Hospital, not at Life Esidimeni.
Counsel.
Thank you, Justice. Ma'am, I'm going to take that point further. You say that you never gave instruction that 38 patients should be discharged from CCRC to Anchor.
No.
No.
Anchor was one of the NGO planned to place the patient, not to discharge.
Do you know Ms. Manaka?
That's correct, I know her.
During cross-examination, we asked Mrs. Manaka, how did they go about in discharging patients from CCRC to Siabadinga and Anchor? Are you still persisting with your testimony that you had no interaction or you issued no instructions in respect of the discharge of the patients from CCRC to Anchor or Siabadinga?
I said the patient that went from CCRC to Anchor,
Yes.
I was called and I gave advice and I didn't have any objection, but I did not instruct because I didn't see the condition of the patient.
Ma'am, Justice, it's the testimony of Mrs. Monaka. It's the 15th of November. It's from pages 120. Now, we asked her, how did they go about in discharging the patients? Now, this is what she testified. And this is specific 38 patients that she said was discharged to Anchor. She says, I'm not denying, counsel. I want you to understand what I understood when I was giving my answers. The batches that went before, the doctor was there. If she didn't write, I wouldn't say why. I don't know why she didn't write. But I was speaking in terms of we didn't have a doctor. It is for the last batch that came in. Because it came in, the doctor was not there. And there were more patients than we can accommodate. And that is where now the CEO, Dr. Manamela, said, check those that appear to be stable and check with the NGOs to take them so that you accommodate all the patients that came in on the 23rd. Those are the ones that I'm talking about. She testified here. She said, there came a point in time where there wasn't enough space for the patients. There wasn't a doctor to discharge the patients from CCRC to Anchor. They phoned you. You said, well, go and look at who appears to be stable and check if there's space at the NGO and just move them over to the NGO. That was a testimony. Is she not telling the truth, or are you not telling the truth?
Counsel, the patient was planned to go and accommodated in the place where Anchor was, but by different NGO. So there was no need for me to give instruction. But the NGO team were there And this, the CEO was still there, who was very much aware that Siabadinga only took 73 patients. So there was no need to give instructions. Lastly, these patients were assessed from life Esidimeni by the doctor. The one that the CCRC assessed is their policy, how they assess them. It's not, I won't say they were assessed and seen by doctors at live, but I ensured at my capacity as the director to ensure that every patient will be assessed by a doctor before they are sent to CCRC, Vescopis, or NGOs.
Did you instruct that they be moved to the NGO and they must look around and see who might look stable?
Justice, I didn't instruct. The team that were
Did
there.
you tell them to look around and see who might be stable?
I didn't even speak to Manaka at that time. I was speaking to the NGO manager. So I don't know if
Again, is Miss Hannah Jacobs?
No, I'm not. Yeah, Miss Hannah Jacobs was communicating with me, it's true. But I knew that when we plan that Anchor will accommodate patients in other wards, there will be patients that are suitable around the patients that are in CCRC. If they are not
did you
from
instruct
CCRC,
that the people should be discharged who look stable
I didn't.
and moved to Anchor?
I didn't instruct that people should be discharged who looks stable because the CCRC CEO has already reported that there are 100 patients who will be moving to the building that was renovated. So I didn't know the patient's name at that time, and I didn't know which team assessed the patient. But when they told me that because of the issue of Siabadinga, we have got Anchor, that one I agreed. I said, okay, it's fine. But I didn't give any instruction that you must do whether you assess or not. I didn't do that, Justice.
Ma'am, I put it to you that you issued licenses to NGOs, well knowing that those institutions, NGOs, were not capable of caring for the loved ones of these family members.
Through you, Council, I think I'm answering to your question. And I've sensed that there is a stirring of family members that they should be angry continuously towards me. And I believe I need protection for that. But my worry is that the stirring of anger towards me might put my life and that of my family in danger. That I must
I think
recall.
you should talk to me.
Then I talk to, yes.
You should talk to me. I'm here to make sure you are protected and you do what you have to do is to give evidence. And I ask all of you again, please, you must give the witness an opportunity to testify. That's what she's here for. I understand how you feel, but you still have to show that respect, please. Yes, can we get an answer?
Councillor, my apology. Can I get the question again? It's like I missed the mark. I'm sorry, Justice.
Yes.
Ma'am, I put it to you that you issued the licenses to NGOs that you knew were not capable of caring and looking after the loved ones of these family members sitting behind me.
Thank you, Council. At the time that I issued the licenses, the NGOs were eligible to be able to take care of the patients. That's what I can say. I didn't know at that time that they will have challenges that at the end, they won't be capable of taking care of the patient. Because I was basing all the issuing on the reports that I was given.
And again, it's Ms. Anna Jacobus who gave you those reports. That all was fine, that Siabadinga was fine, Anchor fine, is that right?
Siabadinga was not fine, Justice. Because for Siabadinga, the only fine thing was the ward. The NGO that we knew will occupy
We're talking
Siabadinga.
about issuing licenses.
Yeah,
now.
I'm saying I didn't issue any license to Siabadinga, but I did to Anchor. So it's, I won't say it's
Did
Mrs.
she-
Jacobos.
Did she say to you it's fine to issue license to Anchor?
The team that assessed, including the engineer, after that, she wrote a report and I signed.
She, who's she? Miss?
Ms. Jacobos, she didn't assess alone. It was Ms. Jacobos and Mr. Toban who were working to look at final touches of the NGO. So when they wrote a report and say Anchor is ready, I signed the license
Could
for
have been a one
Anchor.
line, yes. You followed recommendation of Ms. Jacobus. Where is she?
She is in the office, like I
Okay,
said.
Okay, we'll find her. We'll find her. Counsel?
Thank you, Justice. Ma'am, and I put it to you that you dictated where these patients should be transferred to, and that you had no proper plan to do so.
No, Counsel, I didn't dictate. We looked at the condition of the patient after they've been assessed by the doctor. Those who were, like the three that Siabadinga manager was talking about. I didn't dictate anybody. Like, it's not lawful to dictate any NGO to take mental health care patients who are responsibility of the state. Only those who were willing were given the patient.
And what about the patients? Did you ever ask anybody or their families, may we? Have you ever asked any of their families, we want to do this, may we?
Yes, Justice. In the meeting that we had with the families, we asked them. I even developed a one-pager research, mini research, for me to understand which family can be able to take patient if they are discharged, which family can let us take the patient to the end. I said,
Who will tell us why they ignored the families?
I was not in a position to say we terminate the contract. The people above me were in a position to say that.
Just put their names on record.
I was reporting to the deputy, to the project manager. There was also deputy director clinical services, the HOD, and the MEC.
And they are the ones who could have said, we've had you families, and we're not going on.
I believe so. I believe so, because
Okay,
they
but
had
why
the power.
did you nonetheless proceed, knowing that the families don't want the marathon project to go on? I mean, you.
Me.
Yes. Why did you nonetheless
Okay.
proceed?
As I said, we were planning, the plan was not to plan that people will pass on. But I
We're not
looked,
talking about dying yet. I know
Okay.
that's occupied.
Why did
Why did you
because
nonetheless go ahead against the wishes of the family members of the loved ones?
there were two reasons. First one, I was carrying the instruction of my seniors. Secondly, which is very important, I did check whether I'm covered by the acts and the policies of the department, including service level agreement. So if I found that these were not covering me, I will have written to the leadership to say, I am not going to carry on.
Now we know that you've 90% almost of these requirements you didn't comply with when you issued the licenses. But why did you go ahead? I still want to know that. Why did you forget about your superiors for a moment? Did you do it only because they instructed you, or you wanted to do it?
Justice, I was instructed, and again, it was within the law. And the third one is that the project team, no one in the meeting that I attended said it must stop. So there was no way I will deny the legal instruction that I think myself I won't be able to stand and clarify to the judge today.
Okay, sure, let's leave out the families who clearly you ignored, you and your command structure. Why did you ignore heads of psychiatry within your own hospitals who worked for the state and who warned that this could be very disastrous for the patients? Why did you ignore them?
Justice, although I just didn't ignore them, but they wrote a letter to me that was sent to the leadership. They were called and appointed as the project team members. And in the meetings that I sit with them, no one indicated to the leadership that it cannot be a success or they don't buy in.
No,
So
but they've already written a letter, joint letter, all of them to say don't do it.
But after that, what's
I'm
up?
asking you at that point, why did
Okay.
you listen to them?
I took that to the leadership, and the leadership called them for a meeting. And in that meeting, no one presented that it must be stopped. So that's why I couldn't just on my own say, I must stop it. No one, they were there, they were called the good doctors, if I can say, in the meeting. And they never advised that this must stop.
Why did you ignore the South African Society of Psychiatrists? They wrote and warned and said awful consequences might ensue. Why did you ignore them?
Justice, they were also part of our meeting. We were sharing same sentiments at some area. But I couldn't have power. I still don't have power to should have say we terminate. That's why I asked them also to say, can you also involve the leadership? Maybe they will listen to you.
And when the cases came to court, why did you fight back and even attest affidavits fighting the cases brought by the same entities who had warned of this risk that was what was inevitable?
When the case was brought to court, we were not yet starting with the placement. It was just discharged that SADC reported that Life Esidimeni told them that there would be a lot of patients were going out. So we didn't start with placement. Maybe if that time the court would have said stop the placement, we should have stopped. But I couldn't say we are stopping because at that time it was the normal discharge that Life Esidimeni has been doing throughout the years. So I didn't lie to the court and by attaching my affidavit.
Counsel?
Thank you very much, Justice. We have no further questions for the witness.
Thank you. We're going to take the lunch adjournment now up to 2:30. When we come back, there'll be questions that we put to you by counsel for the province, for the state. So I ask you, and I want you to be back here at 2:30 to take further questions under cross-examination. We are adjourned.